Hey, I've got this part of the video. Let's see, are we live? Yeah, there we go. Got this part of the video. You've got the live unedited edition of Home Gadget Geeks Thursday night. Last Thursday in June, we are officially, Mike, halfway through the year,
which is nuts.
2017. It's a holiday, right? We're done in the United States. Basically, no one works tomorrow.
Where did it go? Yeah.
No one works tomorrow. And then Monday, This is the perfect 4th of July. It falls on a Tuesday, which means everybody's going to take Monday. Nobody's at work tomorrow. It's 5-day weekend for everybody.
Right.
So it's great. If I can get a quick sound check from the chat room, that'd be great. If you're watching this, it means you're watching it either live, which if you could give me a sound check, that'd be awesome. I see Emily and Ken and Brian and Mark out there. Welcome, guys. Give me a little sound check. And then with it being Tuesday, like I said, most of my friends are taking Monday and Tuesday off. Everybody comes back in the office late on Wednesday. And but the year's halfway over. We're done. So if you got this video, if you're watching this, so live, welcome. If you're watching the recorded version off the live page, or you found us on YouTube, hang tight. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. You're in pre-show. We're going to go an hour and some change, hour and 15 minutes. So buckle up. If nobody ever sits and watches a YouTube video for an hour. I do watch some documentaries that way.
I am the odd duck that will watch hours of YouTube. Hour-long videos. Also,
but podcast stuff, or it doesn't.
Maybe not talking head podcasts, but more like network tours and all that nerdy stuff.
Yeah. Oh, sometimes, yeah. I you're right. Sometimes I'll watch that stuff. The other day, I was wondering, what have I gotten into? Oh, lately. So, kind of what I've been watching is I've gotten all interested about the invasion from Normandy into England in 1066. So that's a very pivotal year for the English language. It changes drastically as the Normans invade England and bring French to England and really change all the government words. So bureaucracy and theocracy, all those words are French words. A lot of our government words have a French background. So, and of course, there was also a huge Norse influence from Vikings coming in. They had, from about 600 to about 1000 AD, they had been raiding constantly Britain, and they had a colony there, and they even controlled some of England for some of that time. So the English language has a lot of influence. A lot of the Norse words we get, knife and fish, and some of those things. Those are all Norse Viking words that made their way into English. French had an influence, of course, in it from there, and then the modern English has really been derived since, let's say, the 1700s, right? 1800s, the English we know today. But it was very fluid. The English language was very fluid from the time of the Romans, right at the AD mark, right, where things go from BC to AD, whatever they call it these days. I know it's not. They can't call that BC anymore because there's the word Christ in it, apparently, right? So.
Oh, I didn't know. Are they switching that up? Are they changing it?
I think it's BCE. I think it's before the Common Era is what they call it these days, and ACE after the Common Era, which is just a way of it's like a slap in the face to Jesus.
Yeah.
For 2,000 years we said Christ,
right?
But we're not going to anymore. But it's still going to be the dividing line,
right? You just can't be in the name of it anymore.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yes. Other Jim says the word 100 is a Norse word. Yeah. There's a lot of great. If it actually, Mike, this is one of those things on YouTube where I'll watch it, and then I'll stop the video and I'll Google whatever they're talking about. And I looked up, if you just Google English words from the Viking language or whatever, Norse you could use. Yeah, there's 600 maybe that have made their way into into their language. So it's pretty cool. It's just a weird. So anyways, I've been getting into the it's fascinating to the history, just the year 1066 in England, amazingly complicated. That starts at the beginning of the year in January with the king dying. I think it's like January 8th or something like that. And by October 18th, it's full scale. There are three armies battling for who's going to be king of England.
And what's this called on YouTube? Because now I got to watch it.
Oh, I'll have to look it up and just look up 1066. I think that's what it's called. It's just it's an English documentary on 1066. There's a bunch of them out there, but it's a really cool. Like if you want to study 1 year in Great Britain's history, Great Britain has a ton of interesting history to it. That poor island has been abused. It has been abused. It started with the Romans, and it's been 2,000 years of just being pounded.
Right.
But 1066, a super interesting year in British history, and I can literally watch hours. That's kind of been my. So that's what I watch. Or I don't know about you. I'm a big John Oliver fan. You watch much John Oliver?
I do not.
He takes his HBO stuff and brings it over YouTube.
Does he? Yeah, I don't watch too much of him.
I find it pretty funny.
The Vikings released Tommy Armstrong. It's not surprising.
Oh, speaking of the Vikings.
Yeah, that's literally what caught my eye. I'm like, I just saw some of the Vikings. What did I was just scrolling through?
Nobody knows who Tommy Armstrong is.
No one does. And no one should. No one should. He got picked up on the 30th and already got dropped. He got picked up on the 30th of May and already got dropped.
For the practice squad or for
he was trying out for safety.
Oh.
So he was going to play safety.
That's kind of the story of Nebraska quarterbacks.
Yeah.
They
Eric
do
Crouch.
well in college, and then they end up even Scott Frost played a little safety for a while.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I wonder what happened to Scott Frost.
Yeah, he played safety, and then he went to coaching, and he's head coaching at Oregon's he was the offensive coordinator at Oregon. Now he's at I should know that.
That clock. It's triggered by my
vote. Emily, you should do a series, by the way, on story behind. I don't know how you'd weave that in, but 1066, super interesting year. By the way, 1066. There's another year. I have to look that up. 8 something. The Moors are coming up from North Africa through Spain, and they're Muslim, right? They're heavily Muslim. And they're just kicking ass in Spain. They're crushing it. And so they're coming up the peninsula, and they cross over into France, and they're just met by the French, kind of a combination of armies in Europe, but they're primarily French. And it kind of stops right there. And if they win, Europe becomes a Muslim. I mean, we would be Muslims today if they win, if they break through and conquer the rest of Europe. Chances are, the religion of most of Western Europe would have gone Muslim at the time and probably stayed that way. That's the way it was in North Africa, right? We've continued to see that. It's never changed. And so I think it was the Battle of Tours there in France, and they stop them and push them back. And it takes a couple hundred years for them to be completely pushed out of Spain, which is why Spain is very different than the rest of Europe, right? It has this really heavy Moorish influence with Muslim faith. But the Christians come back down, they kind of push them out of Spain, and as they do it city by city as they roll their way down through Spain, and I forget what year this was. Every time they conquer a city, they destroy the mosque and then build a Christian church on it. I mean, almost immediately. It's like, wipe it out, build a Christian church. But they don't change any of the architecture in the towns. So the towns, many of them were Muslim towns for hundreds of years. And so today, if you go to southern Spain, you can see these cities that have this very Muslim or Oriental, I guess, or I forget what the word you'd use, but everything is that kind of architecture except the church. It's Christian.
Church is different. Yeah.
It looks very Christian.
One of these things is not.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, if you're an architectural person, you're like, those. Spain has an interesting history as well of the Franks. Other Jim says tours. Yep. So it's so super. That part, I mean, it's just super interesting stuff. I just love, I love watching those kinds of videos.
So welcome to Home Historian Geeks.
There you go.
With your host, Jim Calls. This week's going to be different, guys.
Yeah, no, we are not going to talk about history on.
That's good, because I mean, I was literally the type of person who I went to college. I'm like, okay, I at least got to know the years like of the world wars. Like that's where I should probably start. I was terrible at history as a kid.
Yeah.
Took an interest in it actually in law school because you learn, where the law comes from, and it's interesting. But
yeah, we're running a little.
I was bad as a kid. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Sorry, guys. Rennie also says then the Crusades. Yeah, so right, you have that the Christians push them out of Spain, basically back to North Africa, and stop at the Strait of Gibraltar. Then there's a couple hundred years, and then the Northern Europe begins to try to take back Jerusalem, and so they get really Christian and then start going down, and there's a series of waves in the Crusades that go down trying, and it was never very successful. They ended up screwing up more than they did any good down there. But yeah, it's an interesting stuff.
You should be a history teacher.
I should have been.
You have the passion for it.
I should have been. I love that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I love talking about. I love the ramifications because most things are not what they appear to be on the surface. And it's like, we're like, oh, this thing is this way. And you're like, well, that's because of this and that and this and that and this and that. So I enjoy. So sometimes I pick something to focus on, and then for months I'll just watch videos on that. Emily says, I was awful at history, actually. I couldn't memorize dates. I got more into it when I started listening to podcasts. And now she does a story behind.
Yep.
Which, you know what? When history is presented in a story, and it's not it doesn't become just facts and figures and dates. And this is where I find the power of YouTube, actually, is because you can make a movie kind of thing out of it, right? Many of these history documentaries. Thank you. And that just was escaping me. You can kind of put a name to a face and have some conversation about it, and it makes a little more sense. The other thing that's cool is you can go to those places when you can watch events where you can go to those places and then see it. All of a sudden, it kind of comes to life, and you're like, oh, this is super interesting. So it's just reading it for me is just not enough. I want to kind of live it or see it and live it with my eyes. It's a lot better that way. All right, let's crank this thing out here, Mike. Sorry, guys. You came out
to 11.
You came out, and we're 10 minutes late. My bad. I got talking about history here. One sec, and then I followed somebody on a conversation on Facebook today, and it's not going to stop. So I'm going to turn off notifications. Okay, let me do this thing. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 316, recorded on June 29th, 2017. Here in Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios, which, if you came for the pre-show, it might have been the AverageGuy.historical studios, as we spent. Oh, no, thanks, Mike. I appreciate you being patient with me.
Hey, I like it. I like learning that sort of stuff, and you like talking about it, so it works out.
A ton of fun. Well, anyways, so we'll get back to the technology. We of course post the show with world-class show notes each week out at theaverageguy.tv. Don't forget, you can also join us live on our mobile app. By the way, Spreaker has updated both the Android and iPhone mobile apps. Those are the ones that you can get. If you go to homegadgetgeeks.com, download that app. It's different than your podcatcher or your podcast listener. This is the one that's sponsored by LastPass that was built on Spreaker. If you want a dedicated app, and the best way really to listen to the live show in an app, that's really the right way to do it. We notify, if you follow me on Spreaker, I'll even notify you, or Spreaker will, when we go live. So if you want to download the app, you don't have to use it until it's necessary. Like you're on the road, you're on a plane, you're listening to it that way. It works really great that way. So it's been updated, and you still can't download to it on the iPhone. That's kind of driving me nuts. But if you want to listen live, head out to homegadgetgeeks.com, and I encourage you to download that app. Hundreds of you have. But if you want to get, again, it's the best way to listen to us live on the road if you're out there. HomeGadgetGeeks.com will get you there as well. Don't forget, we're also commercial-free on YouTube and on Spreaker now. I've shut all that stuff off. We're really relying on our Amazon affiliate link as well as our Patreon. And so if you want to support us on Patreon as little as $1, I always appreciate that. Thanks for doing that. We've here a little bit in the show, I'm going to thank individually all the Patreon subscribers that are out there, so hang tight for that. But if you want to do it that way, or if you're purchasing on Amazon, that Amazon affiliate link is working again, and Man, Mike, I tell you what, that little break, it just destroyed the income that was coming in from that thing.
Like the momentum from people using it.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be. I thought people would come back to it right away, and it'd be, oh, it's back. Nah, it just didn't. Some of it was, people had created bookmarks and some of those things. That's what got us in trouble.
That's what I had to do, and so that one more click, I think sometimes is just a little bit
right on.
Tough to forget, tough to remember.
Yeah, right on. I forget. So no shame, no guilt. But if you can remember, head over to theaverageguy.tv first. Click on the Amazon link. Boom, you're in. So we appreciate it. A great community, and you guys are always awesome. Thanks for all that you do out there, and thanks for supporting the show as well. Thank LastPass for their sponsorship of that app. Mike, good to have you back. Just you and me tonight. We've got a few topics that we're going to cover. How are things in your world, man? And we're coming up on a holiday, but how's KPMG and how's the work?
It's going good. Wrapping up a project here and getting ready to go out onto another one. So kind of in between stuff, which is good. Sometimes when you're in the middle of a project, you just go, 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 go. You have stuff that gets put on the back burner. So it's always nice to have that few days where in between projects, okay, let's catch back up on all the things that you get behind on. Looking forward, though, I'm taking off Wednesday and the office is closed Monday, Tuesday. So very nice 5-day weekend coming up, and I could not be more excited about it. How about you? Things staying busy?
Yeah. Oh, no, it's just crazy work. This is our intern season. I got some great technology interns this year, and they're actually building a learning management system for us this year. Actually, we built it last year. They're adding on to it this year. I stopped by the high school room today, and I said, hey, guys, a week and a half. Like, it goes so fast, Mike. They start 1st of June. We're already through June here. And so they'll have a presentation for me tomorrow. They'll have one more next Friday, and then they have to deliver their product. And so we got a lot of work to do. I saw some fear of God in their face when I said that. Like, guys, 2.5 weeks or
high schoolers, right? Like, this is probably the biggest deadline they've had in their education or career yet. So yeah, it's a big deal.
It's real stuff. Like,
right.
This is many of them. We have 20. 9 of them will graduate and move on college and stuff. Some of them will stay with us. Some won't. 9 juniors will come back, and 2 sophomores, they'll come back. So 11 of them will come back and join us. They're going to be using this system when they come back on Saturdays, right? So it's really cool to kind of watch them. I'm like, hey guys, you got to use this. I mean, I'm going to use it too, but you're going to be using this on a week in, week out. So we better get it done.
Right.
And so a great and learning management system, not easy. They're building things like a survey engine in there so that we can do pulse surveys during the course. Like, hey, what do you think about this? Or, what do you think about that? Some ways for us to pull them. We are building in an evaluation system for this year where their instructors can evaluate them on a weekly basis and kind of helps us pick and choose at the end of the semester. Last year we had built profiles and attendance and, some of the basic things. And then this year we have been kind of bolting on new kind of add-ons to it. And it's funny. It's the same thing. If you're in software development, every time somebody else comes in and looks at somebody else's code, it's always crap. Like, why do they, that's the crappiest thing I've ever seen. And then next year, those people are being their code. Oh, it's crap.
Right.
It's a ton of fun. So that's happening for us. That's happening right now. Those students will be done second week of July. I'm going to keep a few around for a while, and then the whole thing ends up August 4th, and I'll be heading out to California mid-August for a little vacation, a little podcast movement, which will be great, and taking all kinds of tech with me out there for that. So that'll be exciting. And then it starts all over again. September, boom, we're back on the road. Mike, you're going to be with us more than we thought, and so we're pretty excited about that. Brian Freelander's back next week, so Assistive Tech, and he'll have that new Echo show. So if you're interested in I said Echo, I should be careful. So that just released. In fact, Dave McCabe did a really nice video, kind of an unboxing video on that. So if you want to see what an Amazon Echo looks like that has a screen on it, those are out. They just arrived for people starting today. So check out Dave's channel if you want to get access to that. Pretty good. I tweeted that, and so it's on my Twitter channel as well. And then Amber Gott is back. Speaking of LastPass, she is back to talk about what's going on at LastPass. Some exciting things. I got to see some new stuff coming up in their newest version on the web version, so it's pretty cool. And then Mike and Mark are back for grilling, let's call it Grilling 201 this time.
I'm so excited for that show.
You getting any
Such a
tech
fun
grilling
one.
in, Mike? Are you getting any grilling in this summer?
Oh yeah, lots of grilling. Things being used a ton, and then having people over tomorrow for 4th of July, and not tomorrow, Saturday, and gonna fire that thing up all day. It's gonna be awesome.
When Mike Howard was on the show, and Mike and Mark were on the show last, they recommended for me that mat, that silicon frog. Oh, dude, that is gold.
Game changer, right?
Oh my, you got one?
Yes.
Oh
it's
my
a game
God.
changer. My
Yeah.
dad got one for me, and I was like, meh, and I used it. Best thing ever.
Yeah. Oh, so Mark is saying, Uyghur, you should be on the show too. Uyghur's going to show up for this time. He'll be there.
Yes, I'll be here for that one. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll have Mike on for it. But so the frog, I think it's called frog mat or whatever. Whatever it is, game changer. I was cooking. The power was out, and I was cooking some chicken, and I threw all the vegetables just in the center. So he put the chicken around the outside and threw the veggies in the center. Dude, game.
And you still get the grill marks, which is what I love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So without the flare up as well for the meats.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, it was great. It was incredible. And then Mike talked me into one of those smoking cylinders. It's kind of the metal cylinders. I forget what it's called. That worked like a charm. I used it for the first time. I ordered chips for it, or for pellets for it. Put that thing on, man, it caught fire, and then I put it off to the side, and it just smoked like a champ. And I think I made the mistake of not putting enough pellets in it. So I think next time we did some flat steaks, cut those up for fajitas. Oh my God, dude, it was sweet. What do you using any? Are you using any barbecue tech? Anything that we've recommended here, or are you just straight grilling?
Well, using the smoker, which has a lot of the tech built in, but actually I'm going to have a new thermometer system before that show. So it's not here yet, but it will be. And so I'll get it all reviewed and ready, because I've gone through a few of them. The quality on some of those things you get from Amazon are not the best. So I'll have the do's and don'ts ready for that show on as far as wireless temperature thermometers.
Okay, cool. Yep. Mark's helping me. Robson's helping me out. He said it's amazing smoking tube. That's the tube. It's legit, dude. It was sweet. First time I got a chance to use it, that was cool. And then the frog mats, yep, Weber chicken roaster. That's another thing that we've talked about on here. Mark, last time I had Mark on, he talked me into this chicken roaster, which is a ceramic. It's got a ceramic bottom to it, and then it's got that traditional bit for the chicken where you put it over the top, but you can put sauces and stuff in there.
Ooh.
We did that for a chicken. I made one mistake. I didn't grill it long enough. I mean, it was done. But next time I'm going to really let that roast at a lower temperature for a longer time and introduce smoke. So it was one of those things. So we've had some. If you're new to Home Gadget Geeks, we have a grill part of our show that is just awesome. I'm not going to lie. I get super excited, and I don't have my grill is. I have a Sunbeam. I bought it when I moved into my first house in 1997.
That's a champ of a grill, though.
20 years.
Yeah.
And I put a bolt through it to kind of hold it together, because it starts widening out.
Right.
So put a bolt through it, and and I've replaced the grill tops a couple times, and man, I probably had 15 different burners in there. But man, there is some great grill technology right now. I've been looking at those eggs, or what, where
ceramic eggs.
The ceramic eggs. Those things are pretty awesome. So Mark just said he just picked up a rosary rig. Is that how do you pronounce that?
Rotisserie.
Rotisserie. Thank you. I think I had a really good glass of wine before we started, and now I'm drinking rum.
It was a really strong one.
I apparently don't know English.
Rum out of a pink flowery glass. I was wondering.
I know it's like 1066.
More of a lemonade glass, but yeah.
If you were in the pre-show, you know what I mean. So, yeah. So, anyways, for his Weber, and the other thing I need to think about is charcoal. I think I'm going to go when we move. I think I'm going to go back. Not back. I think I'm going to get an additional. Do you have charcoal at all? Do you have a Weber?
No, I have the gas grill for stuff. It's a small gas grill, and then I have the Green Mountain, which is a smoker. Which the pellet smokers, I can't see myself ever buying any different grill. It does everything you need. Uses the pellets, does the smoke, but can go up to 450, 500 for steaks. You can smoke stuff at 200. It keeps the temperature set all the time. I mean, it's just the easiest way. Yeah. It's nothing. It's not going to be what the pros use, right? Because they like the really fine control. They like the art, the craft of charcoal, or of the actual like wood don't know what you call them, chunks or circles instead of the pellets. But for someone who just wants to go out and grill and have good tasting food with a smoker, it's the way to go.
Yeah, I've been watching that guy on PBS that does all the, and I forget what his name is. Mark will tell me in here, but he's the kind of the barbecue guy, the barbecue master, and his grill, I love it. His grill, the old Weber, they just have all you have is one big grill top. You can't do anything with it. But his are the big ones where you can flip up the front or the back to be able to get down into the coals.
Okay.
Right. And it's really, really cool if you're going to do, so you can, he's also kind of taught me to get your coals to one side. So you have a screaming hot, you have a medium, and then you have a safe zone.
Right.
When you're using, I always just all over and it was just hot. That's all you had. So there's some really cool technology when it comes to the grilling. And so Mark and Mike will join us here in a little bit. And we're super excited about having them back. And then a little bit of homework for our regular listeners. So if you're a regular listener to this, I want you to check this out for me because we're going to talk to these guys in 4 weeks. It's called go to Morrow, MORRO data. So MORRO data, DATA.com. They make a device. They make a storage device. It's pretty interesting. I just want you to kind of check it out. We're going to talk to those guys in 4 weeks. Tony from Morrow Data is going to come out. I've got one of their devices sitting on my desk right now that they have loaned me for the next couple weeks. And if you want to, it's got some interesting storage. If you're kind of a storage guy at the small business or medium-sized business level, it's got an interesting story to it, and it stores it locally and both on an S3, and it's fairly inexpensive. So check it out, MORRO, morrodata.com. We'll be reviewing that here in about 4 weeks. Okay. Mike, last week, sitting over my right shoulder, we had Erin on. She talked about this Targus bag. I have really, man, the guys at, especially Targus Canada, has gone crazy with me, which is awesome. They contacted me on Twitter. We've had some emails back and forth. Very, very cool. Lifetime warranty on the bag. Brian had mentioned in chat last week that he has a Targus bag that he really likes, carries everything. Very, very, so I just ordered it at the end of the show. It came on Sunday morning, came via United States Postal Service, which was pretty cool to be able to get that. Mike, one of my complaints was one, my old bag had a zipper to a zipper to a zipper. It was too many clicks to get in a few spots. Right. It was like, okay, unhook this, unzip this, then unzip that. Okay, I know it's only 3 zips, but I didn't want anything 3 zips away. Almost everything here is 1 zip, and then there's maybe one spot where it's a zip and then 2 to get to it. So that was really cool. It's the bag also had a little my old bag kind of had a clip on the front, and it would lift up to get to another compartment. So that was the click and unzip. That would get on the airlines, you jam that under your seat in front of you. It was constantly getting caught on stuff. In fact, I'd ripped off both of those, the little labels that they put. It was Swiss, right? So they were gone. Just ripped off. They were just done. Everything's kind of flush and cool. So a couple of
I've noticed that's the new style. Like as I'm looking at the bag, the very flat, flush, nothing extra on the outside, which I like. It's sleek looking. And for the airplane, if you fly a lot, it's the way to go because it slides right in and out from under the seat.
No, super easy. In fact, it's got that kind of material up front, super smooth. And I think they're looking for a more professional look. So it's kind of a reduced design, not as flashy. You remember those backpacks from 5 or 6 or 7 years ago? Reds and oranges and, lots of colors.
You had a student's backpack. There really wasn't the professional backpack. Or it wasn't as popular, right? And now I think they're starting to go towards that as more professionals go backpack style.
I think it kind of looks like a briefcase. Now you said to me, pull up your what you carry, right? And it's if you look at the style, right, black briefcase. Yeah, I mean, it's stiff right now because I got my laptop in there, but it's just a regular messenger style bag. I've never been a backpack fan. I like the messenger style just because of how thin of a profile that is when I go. But as far as when I travel, not enough storage room sometimes. That's my only complaint. So I really had to consolidate, put more stuff in my overhead bag than I would want to. Try and travel with that and put your Bose headphones in there with a laptop and everything. So there's pros and cons to each. But I like the look of that. That's one of the few I've seen that looks, I think, professional. Yeah. So you go back to last week's show notes if you want to link to where I go. So we're 315 last week. So go to theaverageguy.tv/HGG315, and you'll see a picture of the backpack with a link to where I bought it on Amazon, and that supports the network. So if you want to go and buy it that way, it's great. So So it also, and I guess I should probably just to be fair. Well, I'll come back to that here in a second. One of the things, so it's their VIP series, is what it is. I was going to say big V, little I, big P, VIP series. So a couple really cool things about it. One is in my old backpack, also everything was flat. So if you had a bulky thing, it kind of went to the bottom of the backpack and it just kind of got lost in a series of dividers that were just assuming everything was flat. This bottom pouch here at the very bottom this pocket is as deep as the backpack, which is really, really cool. So I can put things like, I've got this. I mean, you can't travel without one.
We have the same exact travel power strip. That thing is the best.
This is so super, super helpful, right?
Oh, it's the best. It pivots is my favorite part. So even if you have a weird angle you got to get into, that pivots. Yeah.
Part. And now, I don't find trouble getting power anymore at airports. They've gotten better about it. But in the old days, if you couldn't find a power cord, you go to somebody who did, and you're like, "Hey, can I put this in between?"
Right.
And it'll say yes.
Here, we can split it. There's no reason they should say no. Right.
No, it's awesome. So that's like a required. You got to have that in there. And then of course, power cords for my laptop. I've got my phone.
A little tripod for your phone, almost.
Yeah. And actually, it's so big. The tripod actually fits in there as well, right? I mean, So it's super cool, this pocket.
It was like a clown car. You just kept pulling more and more stuff out of that bottom container of the backpack.
Yeah. So that alone was really, really cool for me. I was like, oh, sweet. I can put, it's super deep, and you can just put those things that are kind of odd. And then when I'm going through the line at the airport, you got to take everything out of your pockets. Right. So wallet, can't have anything. It can't have any money, can't have keys, can't have anything. So they got this really cool front pocket up front, which is super handy, super convenient. It's kind of hidden away a little bit. You can literally unzip and just toss everything in there. So the wallet goes in, phone goes in, keys go in, papers go in, your tickets go in, zip it up, you're good to go. Right. So that's pretty cool. The other stuff, it's got a traditional bag up here for headphones. Right, your earbuds are up there.
Okay,
this is a good little pocket for that.
Shallow, I'm guessing. Looks
very
like
shallow.
Good, so you can get. It doesn't get lost down in there. That's the worst part when you have.
No, you're exactly right, because it's a nice little shallow. You put a couple things in there. My iPhone cable is in there, so it's super easy to get to. Then in the middle, and it'd be harder to show this to you, but if you unzip it, there's a big pocket in here that big enough that I can get my keyboard. I've got a Bluetooth keyboard that fits in there easy, and it's this good size. So business cards, pens, those kinds of things go right in there, and there's tons of room for just all kinds of. In fact, if I dig deep enough, you can pull out the average guy.
Hey,
cards right there. Boom! Look at that,
sitting
in the backpack. So, super handy and super convenient for those pockets. And then, of course, the important thing, right? You buy a laptop bag for your laptop. Right. That's why you have it. So not only does it zip and come apart, which I don't need to show, you can see that online. You can unzip it comes apart, and you can have one side, either side, but it's got that little sling on the bottom. So when you set your backpack or you set your laptop down in it, catches on the sling. Ooh, just kind of, and if you drop your bag, that sling also keeps your laptop from banging. That actually, on the current laptop that I have, that happened on my old backpack. I had happened to put the USB port that had the dongle.
Oh, it had the mouse.
Smashed it. Just destroyed it and broke the USB port.
Yeah, this is my work one, and this little Ethernet. I think I've talked about this on this show. That's how I cracked this. The bottom little adapter piece is all cracked because that sits on the bottom and then it goes every time it hits the ground. So,
Yep. Yeah. No. So really cool to have that kind of sling in there. That kind of prevents that from happening. And then for me, you admitted to me in pre-show, like you're okay with your briefcase, sling it over your shoulder, you're ready to go. But when I'm traveling, man, I am so addicted to just the backpack, put it on, clip it, and run or whatever, right? Walk, run. I've traveled all over Europe with it, all over the United States. I ride the metro when I'm in DC. I just want it on my back. I want it secure. I want it there. Great, really awesome vented back.
Doesn't get too
Does this here
hot.
have some cushions? Yeah, because they can.
Yeah, oh yeah.
These are all vented cushions, which is pretty cool. And then a little strap for your, and this is nothing new, but there's a little strap in here where you could bring up your, your roll luggage, put that through the handle for the roll and hold. That's not new.
That's a must for me on all bags. Has to have that.
Yeah. So no, that's new for me. I used to do that with my other backpack, but it was kind of jankety,
Otherwise, yeah, you're bracing it on the thing and you're holding the handle and you're holding the two handles at once while you're pulling it around.
Yeah.
There's always a workaround to it.
Yeah. So they contacted me. They actually the Targus Canada contacted me and just sent me a nice note. It was great to have that. They'd seen that we had been talking about it on the program with Aaron last week, and so we had some dialogue. They're like, "You're gonna love it, lifetime warranty." So far, I'm a week in. I always hate these reviews. It's like, yeah, I've used it for 2 days and it's great. Mike, I can't find. I've used it all week, and I still have some time to go, and I have to see how it really fits underneath the seat, and it's got to travel with me. I got to carry it in a hot DC day when I'm humping it across town and it's 97 degrees, and
Right.
just see how really cool it is. But so far so good. It's been a pretty good.
Well, if they're still listening and if they want to send me one to review, I'll put it up against the Toomey,
Nice.
that style bag, and we'll see it. I'll try and convert myself to a backpack style guy.
Yeah.
It seems like it'd be a great functional backpack, especially for anyone who uses it for work, travel, and you could probably use that just as a regular normal backpack too.
Yeah, no, it worked out really well. $78 on Amazon right now, so not terrible.
Not terrible, no.
No, $80. I think I paid 65 or 70 for that Swiss bag 12 years ago.
Right.
And listen, nobody gets more out of their gear than me. I mean, I keep things way too long, and I'm having a hard time. It's my old backpack is sitting still here. I'm having trouble putting it in the trash, Mike.
You have the same problem I do. Yep.
Well, but maybe I'm never going to use that thing.
No,
never. And it's like, well, maybe I could give it. No, it's dirty. No, it's got back sweat. You're like, no.
Got some ranch in there from that one time that packet spilled.
Totally. Sauce.
Chick-fil-A sauce. Mine had Tabasco in it. And so,
I know. Yeah. No. So I got to figure out. A way to throw it away. But so far so good. So. Check it out. The links to it are on 315. So if you want to go back at HGG 315 to get the links to it. Brian just said he has the Targus City gear. It survived 8 years of trips to lead smelters. Ooh, that can't be too good. And he says I do wash it in the washer twice a year. So that's great. That's a great story. If you're washing it twice a year and it's made it 8 years, because sometimes those materials can go bad if you're the more you wash them, right? That's washing those things is a super hard experience on them. I don't know if I would Brian, this one's got it's got that kind of faux, I don't know what I call this finish right here, right? I don't know how I would feel about putting that in the washer. Maybe it'd be fine. Dwayne, maybe you can email me and let me know. Is it okay to put these in the washer? You see what I'm saying? No, it's kind of like that faux leather.
I wouldn't think so on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I also didn't mention it's got the little water bottle. Do you carry water with you when you travel, Mike? I never do.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, a little water.
Yep.
And then I didn't mention the pocket on the side too. It's got one of those. These are perfect for light. Like got to have a flashlight. You always have to have a Windows. Got to have a Windows 10 flashlight.
You carry a flashlight, and I always carry water. because I fall asleep before takeoff. I wake up at the awkward time of after the drink people have already come through, and your mouth is always dry. So I have that bad habit. It happens way too often.
I know. You're like, oh, you wake up and you're like, damn, I missed.
Yeah. You they literally are in they're like 3 rows behind you. And you're like, oh, there it goes. Too late.
Dang it. That's those travel things, right?
Yeah, those travel things you figure out.
You're like, oh, I should stay awake, and you never do. So it's, anyways, really cool bag. And I appreciate all the feedback that you guys are going to send in. And what do you use? Interested in knowing what you're using, what you like about it, what has been cool. That this tip on the block, on the power block, that That's somebody that was a tip from a long time ago, and I grabbed one. And Mike, I cannot live without that thing. You know,
Yep.
a couple USB ports. Now hotels are getting better in some of those things, but it's super good to have in your bag.
Oh yeah,
those things you got to have. Hey, you've been building out a little server in your
Yeah,
place, and
I
you
have.
picked up a couple weeks back. You picked up a new server. Let's talk a little bit about it. What'd you get? What have you been doing? Kind of just catch us up.
Well, I knew I was going to talk about this tonight. So the one thing I haven't talked about on your show is, I promised myself I wouldn't cry, but no, your community is fantastic. So I have a few times, reached out, whether it's the Facebook group or something, and asked a question about, because this community is super technical, super helpful. And so when I was talking about this server, first of all, everyone was answering all the questions. Drashna, everyone was just helping me out with questions on questions on questions. But man, I just wanted to thank Brian a ton. He heard I was doing this. I had a question about what drives to grab for it. And he sent me 8 600 gig 10K drives and just boxed them up, sent them to me. And then he's like, oh, I threw in 2 more 500 gig SATAs for you. And I mean, if you do the price on eBay, those are $75 a pop. So, I mean, that's over $500 worth of drives. And so this community, just the fact that he was like, nope, I'm going to pack these up, send them to you. I have a bunch of servers that are decommissioned and I'm going to pop his email to you. So huge thank you to Brian and everyone who's helped out. Michael Ray back a long time ago donated one of his old computers that I turned into a PF Sense box actually for someone. So it's been awesome. So first of all, I want to thank
awesome.
everyone.
Schoonover sent me some memory one time, and he sent me some
Schoonover's
drives.
done it too. Yep, he did it for me too.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah, so thanks, especially to Brian and to Drashna and everyone who was helping me out. I'm forgetting all the names on the Facebook, but yeah, all you guys are all great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. By the way, Brian's our number one when we think about Patreon. Brian's our number one guy too. So Brian, you were super generous.
He's the most generous guy.
And he's out here every Thursday. So we really appreciate that. That is kind of awesome to be a part of.
Don't go too close to those smelters, Brian. We want to keep you around, because you're awesome.
Stay safe, my friend.
Stay safe, my son.
Dude.
One of these drives might go bad and I might be tweeting you again.
That's awesome. So you got some gear.
Yeah, so got some gear. So I went on eBay. I had been wanting a server, right? I have the server rack, but no servers in it. I have old desktop computers that I use for server purposes. So I thought it was about time. So I really just hopped on eBay for about a month and put in lowball offers on bids that were a few days out, hoping that one might sneak through and go. And I'd kind of, actually forgotten about this bid. This one was like, I think a week until the bid was ending. Put in a super low ball. So I put in $100 for a Dell R710. So it's got 2 Intel E56. What are they? 5606. So they're 2.13 gigahertz. It's got 2 of them. It's got 24 gigs of RAM. It's cosmetically looks fantastic.
Pizza box style. Is this a rack mounted?
Yes, rack mount, 2U server. One of the really long ones. So, and when you open it up, they did a great job spraying off the dust because it looks fantastic. It looks almost brand new, even though it's not. It's a few years old. So, got that for $100 on eBay. And it actually won, so they shipped it out. And when I saw that it won, I was like, okay, what's wrong with this thing? What did I miss in the description? Is there really no RAM? What was wrong with it? But it actually came 2 nights ago, and I was like a kid on Christmas. Hannah was like Snapchatting me all night because I was just like, oh my gosh, I was waiting for the UPS guy by the door, went out and helped him carry it in because this thing is like 50 pounds, and brought it in and got it all set up. So it's been a learning experience for me because this is the first kind of server piece of hardware that I've ever used. And so my first question that I threw out to the Facebook group was, all right, guys, what operating system do I run on this? I'm thinking ESXi, but I'm not tied to anything. And everyone kind of had their suggestions, right? There was some Windows 10, Windows server, run that, run ESXi, go Linux. And so I actually ended up sticking to my original plan and going with ESXi. So, people who maybe have not run this before, it's basically, that is the operating system, but nothing runs on ESXi itself. It is strictly a VM piece of software. So it gives you a web portal to log into where you can set up and manage a bunch of VMs, which is perfect for me. So I got ESXi installed, went and did a Windows 10 box, a Linux box, and pfSense. Got all 3 of those up and running. And it was interesting because I ran that for a day, but as I started to add in more and more of my features, it was just becoming more of a pain to run something like ESXi when I don't need ESXi, right? Like I don't need all the features, the capability, and all the advanced stuff that ESXi offers. I would have been just fine running Windows Server. So for example, the reason I had to make the change was on the Windows 10 box, USB pass-through is extremely complicated when you're running ESXi, and it does some funky stuff to the USB. So my Plex server, which I wanted to run on the Windows 10 box on this new server, I have the USB tuner, the Hoppage USB tuner for Plex so I can watch live TV. And at first it started out where, it saw it and I could click scan and hey, this is the Hoppage, you got the tuner, hit scan. And it would come up with no channels every single time. And then, so I was like, okay. So then I got the pass-through to work. So I was like, okay, let's get the pass-through. It would scan. But when you went to go watch live TV, it was just a jarbled mess. Was just terrible. And at first I was actually scared that it was the server. I'm like, okay, maybe running Plex on one of these servers doesn't work well for some reason. But I decided, okay, we're going to start from scratch. So Hannah was mad because I already stayed up to like 3 a.m. the first night setting it up. And I'm like, I got to scrap it. Sorry, tonight, switching over to Windows. So actually last night I got Windows Server 2016 up and running on it. Got all the VMs set back up with hypervisor, and it's great. It's actually for me, it's a lot easier than ESXi because I didn't need all the features, and you can just run everything natively on the Windows Server side of things. So Plex is just running on the Windows Server. The MCE Buddy to convert all the shows, all that stuff is running there. And then I have the Ubuntu and a pfSense VM running for everything else. So it was kind of a 2-day process of figuring out exactly how I wanted to configure things. I'm still mad at myself for how I did the RAID partition at the very beginning because these R710s have 8 drives. You put it in, it has a RAID controller on the back. The Perk 6i is the one this one has. It's a Dell RAID controller. And, just being dumb the way I configured it, I now have no swappable drives. Whereas if I would have configured things a little differently, I actually would have had 3 drives spares that I could throw in when things were gone bad. But because of, the size, it has to be the exact same size. I didn't do it right. So I might have another whole day of reconfiguring if I really wanted to get down to it. But
it's a good learning experience.
It's a great learning experience. And to be honest with you, that's almost more fun for me than any of the usefulness I'll actually get out of the server. The configuration, the spending all night, the trying to solve little problems that you can't figure out, for me, those are the fun things. So yeah, getting that new server up and running has been a total blast. And especially thanks to everyone who's been helping out on the Facebook group with giving me advice on what to run. And then also for, Brian for sending the drives. I wouldn't be able to run anything if he hadn't sent me the drives.
No, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. You can do that. I think you're right, though. Sometimes I spend all that time setting things up, and then the low point is like, oh, it's done.
Yeah, it's totally what it is.
What do you do now?
Yeah. So I keep the great part about the Windows 10 server, you can RDP into it. I just keep remote RDP into it. I'm like, well, it's all done. I just look at the blank desktop, close it out.
Like Windows update.
Oh, maybe I'll check it again.
Windows updates. Yeah.
That's exactly what I do. I log in, click updates. I'm like, check the resource monitor. Everything's
yeah.
good.
Rennie, are you running a domain or are you running it? I imagine you're not, right?
I am not. That is the thing I kind of want to look into next because it's something that I also have never dealt with. So it'd be kind of fun to get one set up just for fun. But yeah.
You're like 2 years too late for the home server show, Mike. You would have been perfectly this is all the stuff we talked about on home server
right.
show.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe 4 years too late. About 2 years into it, we stopped. It got boring, so we stopped talking about it. But yeah, you would have been. It's funny you're doing this now, and it's interesting to kind of watch you go through this. You just talked about two complex setups. I've done both ESXi and Windows Server. I've done Windows Server a bunch. That setup's actually pretty easy.
It's like Windows 10. It's almost the exact same now.
ESXi was not that experienced. And we've had Paul Brereton on a lot. Paul talks about ESXi. He's got a ton of experience. By the way, probably if you're going to do something along those lines, you would want to follow Paul for sure. Paul Brereton, Tinker Try. And, but Mike, you did in a weekend. You did a lot. You got a lot done. That's pretty complex. So,
It's a lot of fun.
Nice job. Yeah. Nice
Well,
job.
and part of it for me, I cheat a little bit because the entire week it takes to ship that server, all I watch on YouTube is Dell R710, ESXi. I'm just watching is like all these videos, trying to just absorb it all so that by the time I get it, I can kind of hit the ground running. But ESXi was actually a really nice experience. And I can totally see if you're not trying to do things with any USB devices or anything like that, being able to log in from any web browser and just pretty much configure everything. You can run a console window, which opens up everything. It's really nice and really convenient. But when you have Hyper-V on the Windows server side, it does everything a little bit easier actually. So one piece of advice for those people out there, I think I might have talked about this already because I ran into the issue before. So I knew going in because I've already done this. When you run pfSense in a Hyper-V, the NIC, the MAC address that the VM sees is not the MAC address of the actual NIC, which is fine, except for when your cable modem, it bonds to the MAC address. And so if the VM, which is pfSense, has a different MAC address, it's not going to pass along that IP address that you need for your WAN. So you actually have to go in there and type in the exact same. You have to, set a static MAC address to be the same as it would be for the actual NIC card. So one little thing that'll drive you nuts for hours, and you'll sit banging your head against a wall until you realize that's all you need to do is do a static MAC address and make it the same.
I'm so proud of you. You didn't say Apple once in that whole thing.
You know what? So you know what happened this weekend too? When the server came in, I had to take two of the server shelves from the bottom. I had them just all lined up on the bottom. I had to bring one up to where the server was going to go into, and I was like, so I had to pull the thing out, and I was like, you know what? That iMac's got to go in the box. It's been sitting on this table. It's just not reliable. I wish I hadn't opened that screen up to put in the hard drive without voiding the warranty.
Right.
Because it's a fantastic machine, and it's only 4 years old at this point. But it's no longer.
Brian's offering to help you get OS X running on ESXi, by the way, if you want to go back to that. So is it OS 10 or OS? It's OS 10, right?
It's OS 10. Yep.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm wondering if I would, but that is interesting. Brian, if I could have fixed the USB pass-through issue, I would have stayed with ESXi. I was actually very happy with it. But I needed my Plex server to run on it, and I needed the live TV feature. And even though I got the pass-through to work, it was just so jarbly. I
like you on Windows Server.
Yeah,
that's
nice.
What I like.
So there's a lot of things too. When it pops up, it's actually 16 pops up the server manager. And if you haven't run it before, like I have not, very nice experience.
Yeah.
Pops up. Everything is there now. You have all your main alerts. It walks you through, hey, now we're going to set up all of the features that you want to do. You want hypervisor, you want this. Very probably, to what I thought in my head was, this would probably be super annoying to someone who knows what they're doing. But to someone like me, who it's their first time, super helpful. But to someone who knows, it's just probably a bunch of clicking through, trying to get through these menus that it kind of prompts you for right at the beginning.
Yeah, people, those guys know how to get past that stuff, and many of them just run a headless version of it. So
right, yeah, and so I did the desktop experience version, which makes it a little bit easier when you're installing that stuff.
Right on. No, it's a great story. So you continue to amaze me of how quickly. I mean, some of that stuff when I was learning how to do it, it took me whole weekends. And you're like, one night I just set up ESXi. Seriously? Nicely done. So good work. So got Plex up and running. We got an update to Plex that I was going to do in pre-show and I forgot.
Yeah.
Which will allow us now to do, I think, pause and some of those other features on live TV on the iPhone.
I've tried it.
Tried it out. So what's available to us on the iPhone?
So if you are running the latest Plex Pass version of Plex Server, and then you update your iOS devices, which this is still one of those things where iOS devices and the Amazon TV are the only two devices that can do the live TV features. But the big update now is that you can pause and rewind live TV. So essentially that's Your Plex server is going to be caching that. And so as long as you stay on the same channel, stay on the same program, just like it would be usually with your cable box if you have one of those, if you stay on the same channel, you can rewind back to the point that you started watching the channel on. So pretty convenient. I tried it out. Works really well. The play, the pause. So the way it actually changes the buttons you have. So when you are viewing live TV on iOS now, there is a rewind 10 seconds, play pause, and then fast forward 30 seconds. So and I kind of like the change there. So it's not 10 and 10, it's 10 to rewind because you want to go back in smaller increments. But when you're trying to catch back up, 30-second increments is actually a little bit easier to use. Also, 30 seconds is a great time for fast forward for commercials. So if you pause, you have a commercial, the 30-second, you tap it once, you're usually getting through a single commercial or halfway through one of the extended commercials, which is kind of nice.
I actually prefer 25 seconds because it gets
25,
you, if you go full 30 and it's exactly 30 and you've gone a few seconds into the commercial, it'll take you in. And what we always end up doing is it kicks it, the last commercial takes you into a little bit of the show. Then you end up going back 10 seconds.
You could, yeah, because if you wait at all and you're into the commercial, then you're going to be extended, right?
Yeah. And in some cases, I don't know if you can do this on Plex, you can adapt, you can adjust that forward and backward setting to be anything you want. So my preference is 25 seconds and then a 10-second back.
Yeah,
that's just what I like. It's different.
So we'll see, right? Like, because this is one of those features that you mentioned. Hey, this has got to be one of the features before I can switch the household over to using Plex for everything. Obviously, we're still waiting for them to bring it to the browser, to Android, Amazon Stick, which is it's Amazon TV. You can run this latest version, do live TV, not on the Amazon Fire Stick. I'm not sure about the Amazon Fire TV, but the Fire Stick you can't do it on. So
I'm sure they're focusing
Xbox
on a few of the versions that they think they can get right first and get those out and get great usage. I think going with the iPhone was a smart decision. It is odd that the browser doesn't do it. Like, you're like,
that's where I find myself wanting to watch it the most. I'm sitting at this desk. I want to pop up the TV on the right side.
Totally.
And that's where I want to watch it. I rarely actually ever want to watch live TV on my iOS device. I haven't found a time where I want to do that yet. But that is also because I have my TV that I just turn on and
it's super handy though on the road. I mean, I watched it at church the other day. Oops.
At the store yesterday.
I was at church. I was out in the hallway. I was not in the church itself, but I had been doing when I work at church, I do 3 services, and so you're not going to sit through all 3. So I just popped out.
Good recovery.
Well, yeah. You can't lie about that stuff. You go to hell if you lie about that stuff. So
I think you go to hell for watching TV at church too. So I think you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Dang it, that religious stuff. And it works. That part worked great. I am, now that I'm getting more and more Plex functionality. I think I'm gonna use it on the road a lot more. It makes a lot more sense when we think about, now we use Chromecast here, but you've talked about Fire Stick before. And the Fire Stick does not require the Wi-Fi setup that the Chromecast requires, right? You go, because that's what you use, right? You go into a hotel room, plug it into the TV, and you do direct connect to it. Is that how it works?
It pops up with the Wi-Fi selection, and it brings up the browser window for those hotel logins. So the Fire Stick takes care of everything. You don't need, and you can even do the hotel Wi-Fi. So yeah.
Okay, so it's a Wi-Fi connection, but the Fire Stick is better about doing it than
right.
The Chromecast.
You don't need your phone at all. It's got its own remote. It's just a stick and a remote.
Okay. Yeah. So, but we've got a couple Chromecasts here, and I said this on the show before. I can't wait till it's Android, because we'll ditch. She can schedule, watch, start it on her phone, then just stream that thing right and then we'll put a Chromecast on the PC in the kitchen. And that will become, so she'll take her television with her wherever she goes. It no longer becomes the function of a box, so to speak. It becomes a function of her phone.
Right.
Dude, Windows Media is gone at that point. As soon as I can do that, Windows Media Center's gone.
Oh yeah. I figured out though, I would need, if this becomes truly the live TV that we watch all the time, and I ditch my cable after I'm out of my contract, I need one more tuner in the house. Well, one more box tuner that has 2 tuners in it, right? 2 is not enough, because sometimes both of those are taken up from things being recorded at the same time. So you have no tuners left for live TV. So I think 4 would be the sweet spot. If you have kids in the house, maybe more, but yeah, I need more than 2.
Yeah. And I've got the Silicon Dust, the 2 tuners. I have the newest Connect, and then I have an older one. Those are $90, I think. And
so you have 4 total.
I have 4 total now. I had 6. I took I had an original white covered Silicon Dust network tuner. It physically had 2. I mean, it was a 2 tuner, but you had to plug 2
antennas into it.
Yeah. Or not. You'd split it, right? That's the way you do it. But the newer ones, 1 input, and then it's got 2 tuners on the inside.
Right.
Once we make the switch, I'm going to buy another tuner because I need 6. I think for us, we use it so much. I think 6 tuners is the right number to have.
But then it comes down to, your computer transcoding that many live streams at once.
No, that's true. But I think Flex is pretty good at that. And so I wouldn't anticipate, I guess I'll have to try it. I mean, 4 has been fine. We haven't really tested it where we've done all 4 all at the same time. I think it's a Core i3. I think it'd do fine, but who knows?
Right.
Who knows? Yeah. So I think, they are making, I'm downloading the newest update right now, 1.7.5.4035. Must be a big download because it's taken a while to find its way down. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. I know they're just testing it. Man, they are moving fast at Plex. And it seems like they get it right every time. I mean, I have not seen, they just incrementally have been getting it right and getting it right and getting it right. And so pretty cool. So Mark says Plex states 1K pass mark score per stream. I don't know what that means.
So if you look up pass mark you can Google your exact CPU and it'll give you a pass mark score and it'll be in the thousands. A lot of times you'll hit 8,000. I was actually surprised not surprised. These Xeons that I have are pretty low, but there's 2 of them, right? So it makes up for having a pretty low pass mark score.
Brian says he transcodes 72 cameras, 24/7 on a Dell R730. So
what kind of CPUs do you have in that, Brian?
Yeah, that'd be good to know. I don't know.
And so I'm guessing those are security cameras.
Yeah. Ken had asked you how much did the server 2016 run you, and you had said you're running the 128 eval right now.
Yeah, so you run the 180-day eval, but you can renew it, I think, up to 3 or 4 times. So you can have a whole year of free use, which is good. I think a year really gets you through. 180 days is probably fine for me, but a year gets you through, okay, do I really want this to be, what I use for a while? Because
you think you'd ever buy it? It's expensive.
$240, right?
No, I think it's more like $500.
No, really?
No, let's look it up.
We should look it up. I thought I saw you could grab 2016 for like $240.
Windows Server.
Dual 16 core. Wow.
16 pricing. Well, I thought it was more in the $500 range. We used to really bitch about it on. So it does say the Essentials box. So small business up to 25 users and 50 devices is $501.
So Windows Server 2016 standard, you can get from Simply Software or whatever for $249.
Okay.
We'll see.
I'd watch where you buy it from.
That's true. This one does not look very. I was just going off Google with the very top ones,
Yeah, I think the cheapest version is essential. So let's just say everything being legit for a second here. The cheapest version is going to be Essentials. This is what we all ran, or a lot of us ran. I have an MSDN subscription, so I run it in a test mode. I think that's the cheapest at $500. So
that's really expensive.
It's super expensive. Yeah. That's the trade-off. You got to start thinking, well, you got a year to kind of bang it around.
And that's the one thing I need to research more. Could you run standard Windows 10 on this R710?
Sure.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess what are you giving up? Why wouldn't you? And what are you giving up with server that I don't think I need anything that.
No, you don't need to. Well, you still get with Windows 10 Pro. You get Hyper-V.
Right, you get Hyper-V, which is what I would need.
So you could still run your pfSense box in that. Yeah, I don't see, guys. Do you see in the chat room? Do you see? I think you should. Now I mess around with Windows Server, right? I don't think there's anything in Server you need.
I don't think so either. So maybe at that point I switch back over to Windows 10.
Yeah. If you're going to go server, I think you go Server Essentials. That's the way you would go to make this work if you were going to stay in the server environment.
Right.
I run 2016 standard only because I have an MSDN subscription. I'm not really using it, right? I use it as a test. I'm tearing it up, and bringing it down and bringing it up all the time. And I don't really use it from that standpoint. But yeah, I think you're about $500.
Brian said for Mike, no. I'm wondering if he means it won't work for me. And Ken's right too. There is the free hypervisor version where you just basically have Hyper-V and that's all you have. But at that point, I'm going to need Windows to run Plex because my tuner is a Windows only. It's not a network one. So I couldn't run like Linux and have Plex because it needs Windows. So I would still need to be putting at least Windows 10 on it. Now, I mean, I know this is all hush, whatever, but I'm still running that Windows 10 Pro on that Dell machine, and it is not giving me fits about not being activated. I'm gonna try it out for a few more months and see, but
yeah, Newegg's got it for $399, but even $400 is
that's
pretty
a lot.
expensive.
Oh, that's that. No, I would not spend $400 on it.
Yeah, you can get Windows Server 2016 Essentials, 2 CPU. I'm not sure. I think what you would want to see if Windows 10 Pro supports dual
CPUs, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it does or not. That's what he might be saying no to. I'd have to do a little research on that.
And he said, 10 should work for Mike. So
yeah. Mark says he paid $50 for his Windows Home Server 2011. I got some 2011 server licenses, Mike, that I could give you. You could.
Well, 2012 R2, right? That I think we run just fine.
Yeah, but it'd be hard to find legit licenses of that now.
Yeah, that's true.
If you want to be legit.
Yeah. Which I do.
Actually, I recommend at this point for you, Windows 10 Pro, get the best of everything. Then if you want to raid that, just plunk down the 30 or $40 for the stable bit drive pool and drive pool those drives.
Well, I've got the RAID controller already in there.
Oh, yeah, I guess you could do it that way. Oh, yeah, you're fine.
It's got the BIOS RAID. It's only
you're fine.
You just run the RAID through there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the only problem there is it's 8 2.5-inch drives. So I mean, really, like all the Western Digital Reds are the 3-inch drives. This is the 2.5, so it's the small size.
Small ones. They're super
more
fast,
expensive, super fast. They're 10K drives, which is great. So I'm running. It's so funny. Everything online was, don't run RAID 5. RAID 5 is worse. I'm like, for a home environment, RAID 5 is still fine. I don't know why everyone's telling like home people that RAID 5. I'm like, you guys are okay. You don't need RAID 6 in a home 1-server 8-bay unit, especially when probably you're splitting it up. So I split mine up into 2 drives in RAID 1 for the OS, and then 6 drives that are in RAID 5 for other storage. Yeah. So the OS runs on a RAID 1 two drive area, and then all the other storage for all the files and everything like that is in the other array. So
it looks like yes on Pro with 2 CPUs, so you'd be fine there. I have not liked hardware RAID. Just in all the years I've been doing this.
Oh, see, and I hate software RAID.
Well, there you go. Well, stick with it if you're fine. I would rather go, and maybe it's because I grew up in the Windows Home Server era where we could control that storage on the desktop, and I just prefer it that way. I don't know, and I've really liked Stable Bits Drive Pool. It has been a great. That's what I run for my Plex box, and I could RAID it too, but it's just it makes more sense to me on the desktop. It's just a preference. That's all.
Yeah,
so, just a preference. If you like it on the hardware side, that's great. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You make the decision. It's your equipment, Mike. You make the decision.
Gosh, Brian says the new Dell R740 has a 490 terabyte in SSD, still in a 2U unit.
Yikes. That's good. Well, so you got that option there. If you want to go, that would be a lot cheaper to go with Pro and go that route. And you could still get, I think you could pretty much still save that pfSense image off. Right. Set up 10, bring that into Hyper-V.
Oh, it's super quick. pfSense with that, when you just back up your config file super quick to get that stuff back up and running. And the config file is super easy, even for a non-coder, to open up and edit and change some of the stuff. So other Jim said, We Got Served has a write-up on using Windows 10 as a server. Okay, long story short, did it work well for another Jim, or did it not work well?
No, I think it'd be fine, Mike, for what you're doing. I think it would be
fine too.
Yeah.
As long as it supports 2 CPUs, we'll have to see. That's the one thing that we haven't come to a consensus if it does or does not.
What Dennis got in late. He said, "What drives are you using for the 2.5-inch drives? What are they?"
They're the Dell drives. They're 10K drives, and they're 600 gig a piece. So this was the thing. Brian sent me 8 of those. So I have 8 600 gigs, right, which fills up the entire server. So I put all of his in there. Before he had offered that, I had purchased 3 300 gig 10K drives off eBay. They came. So what I should have done is my OS array does not need 600 gigs. It could have been fine on 300. So I should have done the 300 in there. I would have had a spare 300, 6 of them, 6 of the ones Brian sent me, and the other had 2 spares there. So if I would have set things up correctly, I would have some spares. But right now I have 3 left over, the drives I had purchased, which are 300, which are not going to be useful in replacing any of those because it needs to be the same size.
And they're all 2.5-inch drives?
2.5-inch drives, yeah.
Yeah. It's just save them for another time, for another thing, another project.
Oh, yeah. For sure, saving them.
Yeah. Those are Toshiba drives, Brian says, that he sent you.
Yep.
So they're labeled Dell, but Toshiba.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're nice drives. No,
they're very nice drives.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. When I looked up how much that would have cost to buy, I'm like, whew, man.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, I need to ship Brian some Godfathers, right?
There you go. Yeah. Or we just need to do a meetup up here
and
have Brian come. He'd come up. He's already said before he'll come up for a meetup. So, Dave, speaking of meetups, Dave McCabe's doing the final home server show meetup. So if you haven't checked in on that, you might want to listen to Reset, his new podcast. It's not really new anymore. I think he's on 13 or 14 by now. But one more home server show meetup going on, and this is the best meetup ever and the last meetup ever. I don't know if we have an official date yet. I've already decommitted, but once an official date comes out, I may commit again. It's hard to miss the last meetup since I've been to all of them, you know? So We'll see how that goes. So if you haven't signed up for the home server show meetup, head over to Home Server Show. I think that'll get you there. Dave is doing a whole bunch of changes, and I've had a hard time keeping up. Servershow.com. I think that still gets you there. In the forums, there is a meetup link, and lots of great stuff going on there. You might want to get involved in that as well. If you want to join us out there, we may do one in Omaha someday. I don't know. They're a lot of work. They're a ton of work.
Yeah.
So, hey, real quick before we go, we want to thank those I mentioned earlier. We thank those Patreon subscribers, and so we mentioned Brian. So Brian, super generous guy. He gets the generosity award of the month from the Home Gadget Geeks. So Brian, nice
might
job.
Even get it for the year. I'd give him the yearly award.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be tough to catch up to him.
Right.
To be honest with you. So Brian, thanks for all that you do. Paul Brarin, MB Gilbertson, Kevin Schoonover. Clarify Your Purpose is donating as well. Justin Simmons with the D on the end. I'm not sure I can pronounce that. John Biggs, who was on recently. Dennis out there as well. Nathaniel, Gavin, Emily Prokop from Story Behind. Mark Robson we mentioned before. I should say Nathaniel Lindley. Let's just put it that way. Gavin Campbell. I don't know why I stopped using last names. Dennis Pillow as well. Eric Janowski, Peter Denneret, Jim Shoemaker, Dwayne Johnson, Malcolm Lacey, Mike Uyghur. Who's that guy?
I don't know.
Jumping in. Nice job. It's funny. You're on the podcast and you support. I do the same thing with Ask the Podcast Coach.
Right.
Support that. It's just, they're like, why? You're on there every week. I don't know. I just feel like it's something I should do. And then Steve Sleeper over at the North Omaha podcast. So thanks for you guys supporting us. We appreciate it. It's always awesome to have. And many of you, Dennis, you're out there. Brian's out there as well. Seeing Mark, Emily, other Jim, Ken. Thanks for supporting us, guys. We appreciate it. It's fun to come out every week and have it. Mike, you mentioned how great the community is. We have the best community in the world.
Hands down.
Yeah. And when I say we, I really mean, we kind of have a combined listener force when we think of Windows Observer, the listeners of Windows Observer, right? Rich Hay in that group. When we think of Reset, Dave McCabe, what he's doing over at Reset, all our old Surface Geeks and Home Server Show folks that kind of came over. I think the Digital Media Zone guys over there with the Home On and Entertainment 2.0 with Josh and Richard. I think we share a lot of the same audience with them as well, and I'm sure there are others that did it that do it as well. I consider that whole community in that. By the way, I've started listening to Entertainment 2.0 again, and man, I am super addicted to it, as well as Home On. So if you're in that space, Richard Gunther just does an amazing job. He is just a pro in everything that he does. And Josh does a great job with him over there at Entertainment 2.0. And they've been talking a lot about Plex as well. So if you are in the Plex space, and I'm sure with all the things that are changes that are going on with Plex, I'm sure they will be talking about a ton. And those two guys are just great. So if you haven't subscribed to those podcasts, you might want to do that as well. If you find others that you found interesting, shoot me a note, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Let me know. I can't listen to them all, but I will listen to as many of them as I can. It's just fun to have a great community, and we appreciate that. Mike, anything else as we think we're just over the hour, so we're doing okay, but any other tech stuff you've been working on or anything coming up that you're looking for? You got anything on order at Amazon?
I always do, but it's nothing exciting. It's the boxes of tissue that I showed you last 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So no, the server has been taking up all of my time. Well, actually, the one thing on order is a iDRAC 6 controller for the server, but that's not fun or exciting at all. So
yeah. Yep. Speaking of high tech, Dennis got a high tech knee. He just got a brand new titanium knee that he's been getting over. I've been following him.
Expensive piece of tech.
It's serious, and a long recovery. I've been watching him kind of recover from that. He's got a nasty scar. So, Dennis, thanks for keeping us up to date on your progress. Good to have you. Good to kind of follow you on Facebook and see that. I'm hoping I never have to deal with bad knees. I run a lot, and that's. You never know. I've been running less in my.
That would take you out of commission if you did.
Yeah, no, I would not. I'm hoping I got good genes, so so I'm hoping I never have to go through that. But he's Brian says he's a cyborg now, so he's a little bit. I'm hoping by the time it happens to me, it would be a bionic part. You would think today they're just kind of dumb. They're dumb knee replacements. I want mine to be bionic, and I want it to make that noise. No.
You are like from the Cox commercial, right? Where he stands up and it like lifts him up, and he can like dance and stuff with his.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, right.
Totally. Yeah.
Doesn't he have Bluetooth?
It has speakers in it,
Yeah.
So you got music coming out your knees.
Why don't we have those like bone whatever something speakers? Have you seen those sunglasses now that they just vibrate against your skull and you can hear the music without a speaker? That should be in your knees, right?
Oh,
you can feel the bass in your knees. The knees is the bass.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
That would be, yeah. Dennis says his came from 45 years of climbing as an electrician all the way back to 1969 in the Air Force. Yeah, Dennis, you're a little older than me if you were in the Air Force in 1969, but it's well, hey, you did it. It's done, and it's amazing what they can do. That's another one of those things that used to be a big deal. Now they do so many of them that it's good. So, all right, we are live. Don't forget, we're live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv live. If you want to support us through the Patreon link, we mentioned all those guys that do, and gals. Sorry, Emily. All those guys and gals that support us. We appreciate you doing that through Patreon. Great way to do it. And of course, that kind of covers the infrastructure here. We just did a Cyber Frontiers. So if you haven't caught up with Cyber Frontiers, I haven't published it yet. So it's coming out this weekend with this show. But if you've moved away from Cyber Frontiers and you liked it, we are back. And Christian and I did a Tuesday night live Cyber Frontiers. We're going to work for every 2 weeks now. So we'll see how it goes. He's a busy guy, and so am I, but we're going to shoot for every 2 weeks. So jump back in. Good time to resubscribe. If you unsubscribe, that's totally okay. No judgment there. It's okay. It's been since February, and that's okay. But come on back. We'd love to have you join us. The last one's actually a really good one. We talked about all this ransomware attack stuff that's going on, Mike, which is just insane. When we think about, it really made me rethink all my antivirus stuff.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Christian gets in there and really talks about it and some strategies and just, Christian. So by the way, Maple Grove Partners kicking it as usual. And so if you are Christian's got a great thing going on there. If you think if you think you're getting a GoDaddy thing, it's really not that. This is really kind of homegrown, kind of personal support from Christian. So if you're thinking about, if you like hosting, and a bunch of the listeners are on it, you guys have been responding. He's got a bunch of customers on there, but this is definitely a very private thing, and Christian wants to keep it kind of to our community, and he has got some rock solid. Just go to theaverageguy.tv and see how fast that is. It's amazingly. He just upgraded his FiOS in and out, so he's getting 3 times what he had before, which is just super awesome. So if you really want to get a private server, that's really what this is when you're hanging out with Christian. Head out to maplegrovepartners.com. Plans as inexpensive as $10. And a great way to get both media, and if you're going to do podcasting, media and web is all included in that. One plan does it all. It's great stuff. We had a customer who couldn't believe it was as good of a deal as it was, and it is. And so head out there, maplegrovepartners.com, and appreciate you guys supporting Christian and all the stuff that he's doing out there, and supporting that as well. Don't forget, you can download the app, homegadgetgeeks.com, and we thank LastPass for their sponsorship of that app. And like I mentioned before, LastPass has some cool, they're coming on here in a couple of weeks, and they've got a cool update coming that they're going to share with us. And so we're pretty excited about that. And they are good friends of the show, so we appreciate that as well. Ken had asked me on Tuesdays. Yeah, Ken, that's the goal, Tuesday nights. I know we're going to conflict with Entertainment 2.0. That's, sorry, guys, I can't. They were on, I had them queued up the other day, and they were coming on just as we were starting, and I was like, oh, yikes. We had been doing Monday nights, and maybe we'll go back to Monday nights. For now, it's Tuesday, so that seems to be a good day. That works, but maybe Mondays are better now that I think about it. So nobody get locked into that. We'll figure that out as we move along. I'd like to get us a few weeks of regular recording before we go too far. We'll be back next Thursday. Don't forget, we got a couple great shows coming up for you over the next couple weeks, and so we're back live next Tuesday. Brian Freelander's here. He's going to have that Echo show. Amber's back the next week with LastPass, and Mike and Mark are here on the 20th for grilling. And then our friends at Moro Data are back. Tony Chang will come on, and after that's John Larson. So we're all loaded up and ready to go. I think, Emily, we even got you scheduled. I have a story behind. Maybe I just put that in as a placeholder. So Emily, maybe you and I can chat a little bit. I want to get you and I back together for another a combo show. So it'd be good to have Emily back on as well. We're live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, now at theaverageguy.tv live. Mike, thanks for coming out tonight. Good to have you on. And with that, we'll say good night, everybody. So Rennie says Entertainment 2.0 only has fiber. So live. They've been using Mixer, right? The new Microsoft streaming technology, I think, is what they've been using. Yeah, but I like Josh and Richard. So I don't know if I want to go up against them. We may move that to Mondays. I'll see if Christian's got Monday nights open. That was a good night to do it. That also gives me Tuesday night to edit.
Right.
I did it on Tuesday, and that only gives me Wednesday. And then if I miss Wednesday night,
you're combining it with
last night, then all of a sudden I'm running it into Home Gadget Geeks, and that's a nightmare. It doesn't take that long to edit, but it's probably a 2-hour process to get a show done.
Right. Man, that is one thing that I miss podcasting, like having my own show, but I do not miss that part. Yeah, I'm good. And actually Upshot's been taken off. So I'm scratching the itch of video editing, right? And posting stuff to all over and doing that. So it's working out.
You got a chance with the storm to do some work, right?
Yeah. Los Hills Harley Davidson brought me down. They wanted me to film all the damage out at their place. They're actually having me come down again for a biker rally, an all-day event. So we're going to have to do that. Got a roofing company that does commercial, big, huge projects on roofs. They are going to start using me. Went out and did someone's property that they just bought up in Fort Calhoun. And it's been picking up. I don't know what happened. Maybe Google, my ranking got a little bit higher or something. Cause I always ask them, hey, by the way, we're new. How'd you hear about us? Oh, Google. You're the first one on Google. So first of all, that's the Google ad working its magic. But there you go. Best money I'll spend is that Google ad. You are a seriously good entrepreneur, man. I'm just going to say it. You are so good at, to be a good entrepreneur, you have to not care that you fail.
and you have to go headstrong into it.
And I have failed a lot on a lot of different things. So,
well, that's good though. I mean, you're going to hit something at some point. That's gonna be the thing. I think as an entrepreneur, you just have to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, and eventually you hit that thing.
And there's a lot of things to it. For me, I always told myself, I love to be an entrepreneur, but I'm not going to put my family up against, not being able to eat. Right. So like KPMG, I love the job. I will never leave like that job. I mean, in case something like crazy happened with Upshot, but I would find a way to be managing Upshot, hire people to go do the flying before I'd ever leave. Right. Because it's a fun thing to start up and just see where these things can go. But when you have the stability of, your regular job, it helps you be a little bit more risky on an entrepreneur side, right? Like you're willing to launch these things, see where they go. And if they totally fail, there's still going to be food on the table. So I don't know. That's been my way I've always done things, is always have the guarantee, I'm very risk averse. So always have that in your back pocket. That way it helps you out. But I love starting things up, seeing where they can go. It's a blast.
No, you do. It's fun to watch you.
Yeah.
Do those things. And this Upshot is perfect. And you're on the front of the wave with this drone stuff. And if you could make it work and get really good at it, make it cost effective,
well,
a great little second income,
Everyone keeps, I came out of the call again, some guy called me, went out to him, I'm like, hey, I just bumped up my price. He goes, yeah. I'm like, they're still too low. I told him my price. And he goes, oh my gosh, that's super cheap. I was like, darn it. I meant, I forgot a zero on that price. But my philosophy is, geez, if I can talk, what if I had to drink? The philosophy has been for me is, I don't know. I don't upcharge a lot. I just don't. I really do what I think I deserve for the time it takes me to do what I do, and the cost of the equipment that other people, don't have. So I see a lot of other drones. There's 2 other big drone companies in Omaha, and their prices are really high. So I look at those prices and I think, the nice part about being a one-man shop is I can charge what I want and I don't have to worry about paying employees or anything like that. So I can take it at a lot less. And man, the other drone companies right now, if you're a drone company out there, they are all charging an arm and a leg because no one's doing it. Right. And rightfully so, right? Like you can go out in the market and you can charge whatever you want for this and people are going to pay it because they can't get it. But that's just not really how I do things. So,
yeah. Well, I always say, start at a price and then each next job charge $5 more, or $10 more, whatever. Right. And eventually people will start saying no. And then, you're close.
Right. Yep.
If you don't know what the market's going to
be. Right now I'm getting the opposite. Like, oh man, that's super cheap. Like, okay.
No, then you're not. Yeah. And then you're not charging
$250 an hour. Brian says, okay, maybe I do need to raise my prices.
Yeah. Well, but it's a hobby.
Oh yeah.
And now,
when you have those higher prices, there's the expectation that, because there are a lot of weeks where it has to wait till the weekend, right? Like, sorry, I can't get out. But when they call, so this is the debate whether you brand yourself as a independent kind of contractor or you put a brand company name behind you, right? So when people see Upshot, they don't know right away that this is a one-man or actually 2-person operation, my wife and I. So they sometimes will call, hey, can you come out tomorrow or can you come out right now? Well, no, we're going to have to wait till maybe I could squeeze you in over the lunch hour. But besides that, it's going to have to wait till after 5 or on the weekend. So I think my prices are fair for the availability I have because they're going to have to wait a little bit. And, it all comes into consideration.
Yeah. No, I think you're exactly right.
Right.
I think you're exactly right. And, you can continue to, I do think you're right. The more you charge, the more implied warranty there is and higher expectations there are. And the turnaround needs to be pretty fast and people get pretty snooty at that point,
Yeah. And I hope that they see that. My one hope is that they don't see a lower quality for a lower price. That's not what I want. I want my quality to be, a $12,000 a video quality. I just want them, the expectations wise is really the thing that's mainly why I have a lower price.
Yeah.
But it worked out because the guy called me for the damage after the tornado, and he was like, it's we're going to start cleaning up. So I need you to come out before we start the cleanup. So I was able to squeeze him in over lunch. It wasn't that, drive down there. The drone footage doesn't take long to get. So it worked out.
Yeah, it was a good video. Good looking video. I took a
Nice.
peek at it on Facebook, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. We saw a lot with that tornado. We saw a ton of drone footage. I mean, that has become very quickly has become the standard at which gathering.
Right.
You would, in the old days, they'd pull up and you see shots from the road and those kinds of things. Man, they're flying. The news networks are flying drones now like crazy.
Or they're pulling it from people, right? People are sending it in to them. And I tell you, one of the hardest things about doing this job, though, is, okay, so you and me are very creative people, right? We like to have creative control, which you do. But when I am not spending time sitting down with them, consulting for an hour on what shots to include and not, what's happened is I show up, they tell me what shots they want. I might mention that might not fit. So like on that Harley, there's actually a lot of shots in there that I don't think they fit, but he was adamant that he wanted to show this and show this and show this. And I'm like, well, it kind of takes away from the dramatic effect of some of your bigger shots. And he was like, and some of this isn't even damaged. So I don't know why we're showing it. So it was it's the hardest part. You just want to be like, no, that's not how I would do it at all. But they're the customer. It's what they're paying for. So that has been, I think, one of the biggest learning things for me is letting go what the customer wants. They're paying for it. So you do what they want. So that's been the hardest part for me is letting go of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's insurance. That's for a very specific reason in this case. And I guess we had some tornadoes roll through Iowa last night, eastern Iowa, that did quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, a ton of damage. And then did you see what's coming? I don't know. You're probably going to get this in a little bit.
Oh, really?
A ton of hail.
Oh,
it was coming in right before we started. So I don't know if it's passed. It was going to be east of me, so I didn't experience it. So I don't know if it's already gone through and done.
You're up northwest?
I'm just pretty much, I'm Dodge West.
Okay.
I'm right off of Dodge. I can throw a rock and hit Dodge.
Let's jump into AccuWeather. I haven't heard anything, but that usually I hear the rain. It drips down one of our pipes, and I can hear it going.
Right.
Whenever it's raining. No, I think it's past us now. So it must have gone north. Oh no, maybe it's not. Hold on. Let's see if I can zoom in on the radar. Let's see.
Yeah, it's just coming. It's just on the north side of Omaha right now.
Okay. You don't think that you're going to get any of that?
I mean, I'll get the tail end. Yeah, I'll probably get it.
Yeah.
I didn't look at it recently. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get
it. Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's hit play. Where's the play button? There it is. See how this thing is traveling. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's going east. Well, and coming a little bit south.
It's southeast.
A little bit. I don't know.
Southeast.
We'll see.
It's coming. There's some purple in there. Yikes.
Yeah, it was a ton of hail. So that's the second round. The first round's already gone then.
Hopefully the hail will be gone by the time it gets here.
I hope so too.
You
got a car outside?
We just have one car garage. So there's not much I can do. And then that car already has hail damage. So it's not like I could get it fixed at this point. Because we took the payout and I just paid off the car.
Okay.
Yeah. We drive our vehicles till they're dust.
Yep.
So it's this one's.
That's how we do them too.
Yeah. So we've got.
That's why maybe I shouldn't have bought a Chevy. Maybe I should have bought a Honda.
Should have. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't want to make you feel bad about that.
No. I don't. I actually love that car.
Do you?
It's a great car. Oh my gosh. It's the perfect starter family car, right? Not even like when I say starter, I mean like when you're starting to have kids and it's going to grow into you're going to have like 3 or 4 of them in this car.
Yeah.
It's a great car.
Yeah.
My car's old enough to vote, Rennie says.
It might be. Yeah, Dennis was saying you're not going to send any of this weather to Evansville. Let's see.
I don't think it'll hit Evansville.
Not this storm, but there's a storm out there is Evansville, Indiana or Illinois?
Indiana.
There's a storm. There's a thunderstorm rolling through Indiana right now. So it's not this storm, but there's a nice gap in between these two. Looks like northern Missouri is getting crushed as well. So we'll see. This we'll have to. God, I now when these storms roll through, like that losing power experience was so painful.
How long were you guys out for?
4 days.
That is a long time.
No, it was painful, dude. I don't
That is
want to do
rough.
that again. I did not do it right. You don't do those things enough to know,
Right.
like, I didn't do it right. I do it totally different.
You would?
Yeah. Yeah. I would have packed up our frozen stuff that night.
Oh, you didn't?
No. And so it sat overnight, and it would have been okay but it would have been early the next morning, pack it up, take it. And I just didn't. And you just don't know, like, you don't know how long it's going to be off for. So you don't want to go through all that work.
You're like, it could turn back on. It's going to turn on as soon as I take everything out. Right.
Yeah. We ended up getting a really sweet generator. So a buddy of mine, I don't own it. I just borrowed it, but we got speaking of Honda, we got this Honda. Let me see if I can find this thing. It is a Honda EU 2000i.
Okay.
It's $1,000 and it's only a 200 watt or 2000 watt generator. So it's not the most powerful, but Mike, this thing is the quietest thing I've ever heard on the planet. It hums. Doesn't run, it hums.
Okay.
And a hand pull, it's literally 2 switches, on, maybe 3, on, choke, pull, and that's it. And it just starts, and take the choke off, and it's got a button for eco. So it's an eco mode, so it will throttle down based on its load.
Okay.
So if it has a low load, it'll throttle really low and just kind of super quiet. And then as you add more load to it, it'll throttle itself up to manage the load, which is really cool. Or you could just flip that off and it'll go full bore the whole way, type deal. If you were using maybe like a chainsaw or power equipment, you probably just want to leave it on full bore. So $1,000, top of the line. It literally just has a handle. Pick it up, and they're heavy, but pick it up.
So you take that, and what'd you run off it?
The fridge.
The fridge,
basically.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we got 2. So I ran the fridge off one, and then I brought one down by the garage, and I ran all my computer stuff off of it.
Oh, there you go.
And it made it till I probably put 3 PCs on it. And then it struggled.
Oh, did it?
At that point. I was running 450, 500 watts out of that. And I think
it was a 2000 watt.
I know. Well, that's what it's rated for, but I think it works differently. And I think there's an amp. I think there's an amp limit on that as well. I don't know.
Okay.
And I used to study all that stuff, but I don't know. Anyways, that's what I'd have. Like, that's when the next time I get an extra $1,000, that's what I'm buying.
So is your buddies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much are the ones that they just pretty much install into the side of your home? Like, it just is wired into your whole home. Those have got to be pretty expensive.
Yeah, a couple $1,000, probably 5.
Which, you're like, okay, how many times is your power going to go out for 4 days?
No, that's not worth
Once every 10 years?
I'd even question.
When's the last time that happened? Yeah. When's that even happened to you last?
5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Right.
And it's just, okay. So, and then we lost a little meat. We lost some Eggo waffles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you lost the Eggos. Just eat them frozen, man.
I know. Well, I should have.
It was hot enough. You could have just put them on the outside.
Solar toaster is what I need. So we threw out some waffles and some veggies and, stuff that was going to make it. But we started adding it up. Let's just say $250.
Right.
So you throw out $250. Now, if I had a big freezer full of meat, maybe that's $1,000 worth of food, maybe.
Right.
Okay, that's different.
If you're in a rural area and you have one of those, deep freezes with all of your meat in it.
Yeah.
That's going to be an issue.
I would never use a generator otherwise. So even if even if I lost $500 worth of food, it's still, I'm still ahead by letting the food spoil and not running the generator.
You can let that happen twice, and that's going to happen in 10 years,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So we I think I said this. Maybe I haven't said this here. So we take all the frozen meat to my son's. Then he freezes it, and then we bring it back. My daughter puts it away and forgets to we turn the freezer off. She forgets to turn it on. And I just felt really bad for her. It was just a mistake, right? Just a mistake.
Yeah.
She felt really bad. So we come home and all the meat is warm. and you're like, oh, it had been sitting there a day and a half or something, and you're like, okay, we can't cook it, it's gone.
Yeah.
So, and then it bled, it started bleeding, so now the freezer is a mess, which my wife made her clean. I felt really bad for her. So, make a mistake in the Collison house, you pay for it.
Yeah.
So, so we bundle all that up and put it out in the trash, and they didn't double bag it or whatever, and then it's warm out there.
It just stunk.
It smelled like death. It was awful.
It literally was death. It was a dead cow out there rotting.
It was awful.
What it was.
It was just awful. There's a reason those smells are not good for us, because it keeps us from trying to eat that stuff.
Right.
But it was just death. And so, of course, it went out there on, I'd been out there, I think it's over the weekend or something. So it's been out there all week. And so on Tuesday, when we put the garbage out, I just felt so bad for the garbage guys. I am like, and I wonder how often in the summer they come across this, where the garbage is just, there's dead things in it.
Do your guys still get it out and do it though? Like ours has an arm on it.
They just dump.
We have one guy who drives, and it's a one man in the driver's seat. It pulls up. I want to know what kind of technology they have on that thing, because the arm perfectly reaches out, grabs it, reaches out, grabs the next one, and
I would have felt better about. I'd have felt better about it if they had the arm. But I know I've watched my guys dump the trash.
Okay,
and they don't pull it out, but they do, dump it. And oh my God, dude, I just would have heaved. It would have been, and it's still, so it's gone, and but the can's still, it's just awful.
That's
Oh, so it's going to be most of the summer. I mean, it won't be till winter until it gets really cold and kills all that bacteria and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Yeah, we didn't. We were out of town, and I got one text alert that our power had gone down, but it came back 30 seconds later. So it blipped for about 30 seconds, and that was it for out here. Yeah. But so we in this circle, I don't know what it is, we are on a separate power grid than the rest of the neighborhood, because all of our neighbors will lose power and our circle will stay on. So I don't know what the deal is, but it's kind of convenient. I really like it, actually.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. You've got,
because my aunt lives literally 2 streets over, and she had come over to check on Petey while we were out of town, and she had texted us like, "Hey, your power's on, but ours is off." And then by the time she had gotten home, actually it was back on. But you guys in Bellevue got hit the worst.
Yeah, well, we had that tornado.
So Ken asked if we didn't get it. So Jim and I are, even though we're both in technically Omaha, we're a good 25-minute drive apart from each other, probably.
Yeah.
So I'm far west side, he's far southeast side.
Mm-hmm.
So
we're about as far south as you can get and still be in the metro.
Yeah, to be considered Omaha Metro, we are as far apart as you can be.
Yeah, it's true. That's
we're
true.
Literally as far apart.
You're on the far west end, and I'm on the far south.
Because I'm technically Elkhorn, and you're Bellevue, so we're even.
Yeah, I could live on the other side of Council Bluffs, and that would be a little bit farther, I think. Maybe not.
I don't know. Maybe not. By the time you take 75,
right.
Take 80, you might be quicker.
Probably. We never meet. We got to get together for.
I know.
Barbecue, man.
We've got to.
We got to figure out how to get that done.
Well, there we go. So that Thursday, we can just get together at one of our houses, and we will stream in from one, and they'll and we'll be grilling. It's
that would be fun.
A podcast while you grill show. You have to be on your thing, and
you have to be grilling.
You have to be grilling. Yeah, and have a beer in your hand outside. That would
Mark,
be fun.
Could you pull that off, Mark? Could you actually be out there grilling? Mike isn't around tonight, so we can't ask him. But could you, Mark? Could you be could you do it, Mike?
Oh yeah, it would be perfect actually at my house. Yeah.
What day is that?
The Wi-Fi is super good on my back patio. It's covered patio, so even if it's raining, we would be totally fine.
It's the 20th. He says it's 10:4. Oh yeah. Well, it's 9:45 here. It doesn't matter. I'm
Well, we could
cook the food and put it in the fridge.
We could start an hour earlier.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Or we could just skip that idea.
Yeah.
It sounded good. It was one of those. It really sounded good. So, and poor Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah. Dude, I get the time thing. I get that. You just, some TV shows record early in the morning, but they're still making lunch. You just get, here come the warnings.
Yeah.
Severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Bellevue until 10 p.m.
There you go.
So we should have the
You
weather
poor
here.
people down there, because it's not even raining over here. Not even a drop yet.
I would think you should be having it here anytime, man.
I'm sure we will.
Let's see if I can zoom in. I don't know if I can zoom in anymore on this. Wow, AccuWeather sucks. For that, let's go to weather. Yeah, poor Nebraska, man. We've been getting hammered. Just hammered. Oh. Maps, weather in motion. All right, if you're watching on the live show, we're going to let you go, guys. Thanks for coming out and hanging with us and listening to stories of rotted meat in the garbage can. If you're on Plex, make sure you're updating your Plex environment. There's a new update for you. We'll see you next week.
Adios.